I didn't do that on purpose. All right. So I'm live on YouTube and I'm on Facebook. Okay, so on YouTube, let me adjust this a little bit. I've been doing this video on how to get richer than Bill Gates, and I don't have my high quality camera here, so you can check my Facebook account. All right, so let's continue on. All right. So here's some principles. Ready? If you serve the classes, live with the masses, but if you serve the masses, you live with the classes. So, in your business, where should the customer, what should be there? It should be customers. The customers are involved in families. It's involved in your family. It's involved in your community, your state, your country, your spirituality, and you're there to serve the masses. See, if you, what's up, Rob Four? What's up, King and Calita? See, if you, right, are doing something that's serving the classes, you're going to live with the masses because this is having a job. You're serving. What are you doing when you have a job? Robert Kiyosaki thinks having a job is like career suicide is what he thinks. Okay? It's for idiots is what he thinks. Now, I don't agree with that because I think jobs are valuable, but jobs are for people that want to serve the company owners. Businesses are for people that want to serve the masses. Who are the masses? They're your customers. So, therefore, because of this, what is actually the most important thing in your company? Well, a vision that serves the customers, a plan that serves the customers, a game plan that serves the customers, and a product that gets them stellar results. If the product doesn't get them stellar results, you're not going to have long-term customers. If the product gets them excellent results, you're going to have long-term customers. And what are the best kind of customers? The best kind of customers are customers that pull out their credit card and buy. And what are the better kind of customers? The customers that are long-term. And what are the better kind of customers? The long-term customers that buy as much stuff as possible because they can afford it, because it's getting them results. So they can continue to afford it because of the results that they're getting from the product. Everybody can afford a product that makes their skin look more beautiful. Everybody can afford a product that makes their brain more intelligent. Everyone can afford a product that makes their business grow more fast. Everyone can afford a product that's the highest quality product at the lowest possible price for that particular market, right? So the product is therefore important for the customers, right? So we taught you how to conquer taxes. You talk to your tax advisors about that by 501(c)(3)s and stuff like this. And again, we're not teaching tax evasion. We're teaching real practicality here. You got to do this right or it won't work. And sometimes you can't transfer existing businesses. Sometimes you got to do new stuff. And that's okay. And now we're teaching you how to, right? That conquers the majority of the income thievery from the government, the tax thing. And if you conquer the government thievery, then what do you got? Well, then what you got is you have got, I got to drink some water. Hold on. You've got a real ability to build wealth, right? So you've got a real ability to build wealth. And what's the real ability to build wealth? The real ability to build wealth is your ability to get your product in front of more and more customers. Now, let's talk marketing. Let's say you've got a product and it meets the needs of a target market. Okay, so let's go to Microsoft, for example. Who does Microsoft serve? Microsoft actually serves the masses and the classes, but predominantly it serves the masses. So Microsoft, who has a better model, in my opinion, between Microsoft and Apple? In my opinion, Microsoft has the better model. Why? It's a cheaper product that's faster that's more flexible, that's more adaptable, and the visionary is alive. Right? Therefore, it's who's really makes the best phones? Is it like Android or is it Apple? Oh, it's debatable depending on what it's for. They both serve the masses. Apple is very simple. Android is more flexible. Therefore, I like the flexible version. I think that's more of like a man thing. I think more simple and direct and clean is more of a womanish type energy. So some people like operating more in the woman type, women, right? What's up, Mark Dayton? Good to see you, brother. You know, we don't need to argue about anything in this one, right? We're just talking business, right? So this is more of a flexible thing, right? This is more a flexible thing, and that's more of a specific thing. So I think Microsoft actually has the better model, right? Who has a better business model, okay, for making money? Who has a better model? Facebook, okay, or Amazon? Right now, Amazon by far. Why? It's a more flexible model. It can serve more kinds of customers. It's easier to sell products. It has better decentralized systems. However, this is debatable because Facebook needs to be there to help Amazon sell products, and Amazon needs to be there to help Facebook make money. Right? But really, who's the better business model? Jeff Bezos has the far better business model. It is a better business model for most things. However, for a world-changing thing, what's better at changing, Facebook or Amazon? Right now, by far, Facebook has the better world-changing model. Why? Because it speeds up mass communication. What's up, Lars? It speeds up mass communication. Therefore, you can communicate with more people in less time. And let's say we need to get a message out about a war that's going to go on in Syria or Iran, right? All of a sudden, the whole world can work together like that because they're sharing messages on Facebook. So I think Facebook is the best consciousness-based it's the best consciousness-based social network there is, in my opinion. Because freedom of information, flexibility of information, everybody loves Facebook, right? I like Facebook way better than all the social networks. All of them put together, I like Facebook better, right now. I think there's one that has a potential to disrupt Facebook a little bit, because it's a better decentralized social network. I'm not going to mention the name of that one right now because they're getting ready to go public. If they haven't done it already, I haven't been paying attention. So a flexible model in the beginning is going to make more money. A more specific model might end up serving a wider variety of people in a different market. Okay? So you need to define the model, and the model needs to be focused on your target market. What are the best target markets? The biggest ones. Now, this is once you get going. Maybe in the beginning, a better target market is something that is a little bit more small. Okay? Maybe in the beginning, a better target market is something that's a little bit more small. And then as you go on, the bigger your target market is, the better it is. Why? Because you can serve more people. Now, here's the next bit, okay? A business plan that serves a large target market is very easy to get funding for. Especially if you have good credit. If you don't, if you have a team, it's easy with a team to get funding. Remember, you got other people's money and you got other people's time. Other people's time would be employees, reps, voters, right? Other people's money would be investment cash, people buying stuff. What's better, to build a business based on your money or based on other people's money? Well, that depends on the purpose. If you do it with your money, you don't have to answer to investors. And so there's a way that that's superior. Like, for example, does Russell Brunson need to answer to investors? He doesn't really. He has some investors now, and he's got some people that own parts of ClickFunnels and stuff like that, right? But he started it with his own money, with his own profitability. That's Russell Brunson, okay? There's other people that have to answer a lot more to investors. For example, like Mark Zuckerberg has a much higher requirement of answering to investors. Jeff Bezos has a much higher requirement of answering to investors. Tony Robbins has he has to answer to investors, right? If you have to answer to investors, there's inferior things about it, and there's superior things about it. The superior things is you're going to have more capital. The inferior things is perhaps the investors will try to do something like, for example, a hostile takeover. And then they might take you out of the picture, out of the business that you built, especially if you're newer and you've never done anything like this before. So you need to learn how to pay attention to detail. So these are principles. Detail is a principle. Paying attention to detail is a principle. Okay? Recruiting all the time is a principle, right? There's nothing more valuable for an organization over a long period of time, okay, than recruiting, because talent makes a dream work, right? So talent equals the dream working, right? The higher level the talent, the more A+ player they are, right? I like above A+. It's like A+, 9,000 billion plus. You know, the more talented your players are, the faster your dream is going to connect together. And this gets into the next principle, which is masterminds. Bill Gates invites everybody over to his house, into his garage, and he pitches the idea for mastermind. And then he gets other people's time and other people's energy and other people's ideas focused on his vision and his target market for the customers that he invented. Then this mastermind, the whole mastermind equals more than a single mind. And that gets into quantum mechanics. What do I mean? Well, consciousness, I have this theory, what's up, Chris, is quantum energy. Until it's proven it's a theory, right? Quantum energy. So then you have one person in the group and this is the idea person, right? And then all of a sudden you add a person, and you add a person, and there's a principle in construction called synergy. Where does synergy come from? It comes from the fact that if you put two poles together, let's say you can put a certain amount of weight on one pole, and then you put two poles there, you have an exponentially greater carrying capacity of energy than simply one pole. It's not just a little more, it's exponentially more. So the more people that you add to the mastermind, the exponentially greater the energy is going to be. Okay? It's going to be exponentially better. It's going to be exponentially greater. It's going to be exponentially more powerful. It's going to be exponentially more intense. It's going to be exponentially superior. Okay? The more people that you add with minds. So what's an example of that? Read a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. And this is going to get into the next one. Now, are you ready for the most powerful principles? Are you ready for this? I cannot believe how few people are watching this right now. It's astonishing to me what they're missing. Okay? Okay. A lot of people say whoever has the most gold equals the richest. Okay? What other people say is whoever controls the gold They're the richest. What other people say is whoever owns the system that moves the gold and controls the wealth of society equals the richest. This is the central bankers' world. They control systems. The system, oh, thanks, Mark. They control systems. The systems control the wealth. They, with a few people, got together with their little syndicate group and invented from thin air a kind of monetary system that has destroyed economies like 600 times in history to steal the wealth from society and completely control all of humanity and make all of humanity slaves. And a small mastermind of a few families pulled that off in a few years. And this one family is worth $7 trillion. Now, I'm actually not criticizing them. I mean, who am I to criticize somebody that can pull that off? I think that there's a different way to do it. But my point is that they developed a system. That system controls basically all of the wealth in the world. So who's more wealthy, the governments or the central bankers? The central bankers are more wealthy. Who's more wealthy? The local banks or the central bankers? The central bankers are more wealthy because they own the system that controls the local banks. So who owns the space in network marketing? The system architects. What is take somebody like Mac. Everybody wonders, like, how's Mac so rich? And what do they think? They're like, well, I'm going to go like look at what he's joining, and he's rich because he's in that thing. Oh, he's rich because he's posting pictures of his Ferraris and his checks. So he's rich because blah, 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 blah. Mac is only rich for a couple of reasons. Okay. Number one, okay, social proof. Number two, right? He builds systems for everything he does. Number three, he has lots of systems. Number four, he has lots of checks. Number five, he pays tithing. I promise, if that dude didn't pay tithing, he would have been in jail a long time ago. His tithing actually protects him from jail. How do I know he pays tithing? Because he hasn't lost his money. He's Islamic, I believe. Right? He hasn't lost his money, therefore I know he pays tithing. Because if he stops paying tithing, he will lose all of his wealth. It'll be like that. And he'll get like busted, and the FBI will go after him and stuff like that for how he promotes. But he stays under the radar. He has lots of things. By the way, I'm not criticizing him because I think at one point the FTC and the FBI need to just back off and let people do what they want. My point is that this is what he does. Do I like his business model in particular? I actually don't like the way he does business at all. However, I also like aspects of it because I like the fact that it works. Right? Who controls the system for internet marketers out there? Russell Brunson controls it. Okay? Russell Brunson controls the system. What does Russell Brunson do? He has social proof. He builds systems. He has lots of systems. He has lots of checks. He pays tithing. What does the central bankers do? They have social proof. They build systems. They have lots of systems. They have lots of checks. They pay tithing. That's basically all they do. And if you realize this, you're one system away from all the wealth you ever wanted to create. So how do you get richer than central bankers in a few years? Well, let me tell you. So now we've talked about systems make money. We've talked about targeting markets. Now let's talk about getting customers. You got to get customers, and you got to create something in an exponentially growing fashion. Exponentially growing fashion. Okay? What do I mean? You got to create something that as you're bringing in more customers, the nature of the customers creates more traffic that then feeds back into the system. What's an example of that? A church gets a convert that then goes out and tells 5 people about how they're saved. A network marketing distributor that joins and makes a list of everyone they know and pitches their friends and family. A blogging system that gets people to come in and blog, and then all their blog posts and all their SEO goes into feeding wealth back into the system. Okay? These are all examples. All of them are examples. All of these things are examples, okay, of how to create viral sustainability loops. Okay? Now, once you're getting customers, they got to be customers. Now what you want to do is you want to add recruits on top of the customers. This is for building the organization. You also want to have a constant source of recruiting into the internal team, right? So recruiting is actually the greatest function of exponential team expansion. The more people you have dedicated to the dream with high levels of talent, the faster your dream's going to work. Okay? So recruiting is an eternal principle. Jesus took 12 people, and now there's 2 billion of them, right? This happened from those 12. Obviously, those 12 people that I've met a couple of them, the 12 people that he picked, they were some bosses, okay? You say you met a couple, what are you talking about? I'm not talking about that's here in this video, okay? And so 12 people equals now 2 billion that'll turn into hundreds of billions as time goes by, as the society gets bigger and expands. This is the art of recruiting. Now, why was he able to do that? Because he has the best product ever. What's his product? Salvation. You just believe in me, and then I'm going to stop you from going to hell or whatever. That's a pretty good product, isn't it? I mean, that's like the best product anybody's ever even heard about. So it's pretty easy to sell. And because it's easy to sell, he's got a great product. Then what does he need? He needs social proof. And how does he create social proof? He creates an environment where a bunch of people are looking up to him, and then he goes and picks his apostles, and they see all these people following him. And then he picks his core leaders, and then all of a sudden he's got his 12, and then he trains them to all do it, and now they've got all their social proof. And then they start building it, right? So you conquer income taxes legally, right? Then what you do is you got to have a vision that impacts society. Like Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, for example, he wants to impact society. He's got a great vision for society. Jeff Bezos has a great vision for society. Donald Trump has a great vision for society. I have a great vision for society. Therefore, my kingdom will massively and exponentially expand. You won't be able to stop it because I believe in it. Other people will believe in it eventually. And because that vision is going to be inclusive of people, even people that disagree with me, like, for example, Mark Dayton. Because we'll have a Christian message in my thing that I'm building, because it's not my kingdom, it's God's, right? My point is that I'm going to be very inclusive of people, and it doesn't matter to me that he disagrees with me. Right? This is actually very irrelevant to me, other than the fact that I like to argue and he likes to argue, and we have a lot of fun on Facebook about it. That makes sense? So in any case, we recruit, we grow exponentially, and then what do? You mentor people. And you mentor people first through systems, and then through their production, and then through their results, and then through their prosperity. And you got to learn to set strong boundaries. Let me explain some boundaries that are going to be very useful for you as time goes by. For example, and some people would argue with me about this, this is thank you, brother. This is very, very important kinds of boundaries. Let me explain some kinds of boundaries that make tons of sense. Okay? It's shocking how few people that are watching this, isn't there, Mark? It's like, what are people think? What are people watching right now? Not this, right? So boundaries are essential because boundaries will prevent your life from being destroyed. So the first boundary you got to set with yourself is very simple. You got to give 10% of your income away before you spend any money to charity. Your church, feeding kids is a great option. If you don't have a church, I'd recommend you actually find a church. What kind of church do I recommend? Whatever kind of church you want. I'm not going to judge you based on what kind of church you want to attend. Your income away before you spend any money to some sort of spiritual source that you've got. It does not matter how hard you work, and it does not matter how much money you make. You're going to get utterly destroyed, especially as society gets closer and closer to enlightenment. The reason why the majority of I'll tell you actually 100% of the reason why Empower Network collapsed is because I didn't pay tithing the entire time that I owned Empower Network. I was going to do it at the end, and it was too late. The karma had already eaten it alive. Had I given 10% of my income away to charity, I gave some money away to charity, but not 10%. I was so wussy with it. It was unbelievable. It was like 5%, 2%. I'd forget for 2 months. Right? And I'll tell you that is 100% of the reason why Empower Network collapsed. You say, well, what about all the other stuff that happened? That other stuff would not have been possible to happen if I had been paying tithing. Right? It literally, what's up, Daniel? It literally would not have even been possible. So I am not in the business. As a boundary for yourself, you got to do that. And I'd actually recommend another 5%. Like, for example, the Islamic people, they give another 2.5% of their income or something to feed orphans. Right? Isn't that powerful? I mean, that's some righteousness right there. I mean, Christians could adopt that without needing to believe in Islam. You know what I mean? That's a really good practice, isn't it? I mean, overshoot, feed kids, build churches, build water wells, give money to Africa, be a giving person. Everybody, here's the thing. There's a scientifically proven study that proves scientifically money comes back at you at a ratio of 39-1. It's called the golden ratio when you give. It's proven. I'm telling you, it's actually more if you give to children. This is actually scientifically proven that this happens, that millionaires become millionaires after, not before, they start giving the majority of the time. Okay? So you got to set boundaries with yourself that you're going to do this. The first thing you do with your money, you should actually, let's say you're making commissions. You should have a commission account where money comes in. You give first. Okay? The checks go out first. No money ever gets spent from the commission account. Then from the commission account, you move funds into your personal account. Let's say 30, 40% or 50% or whatever you can take. 30, 40% into a marketing account, right? Separation and balance of powers everywhere in your life and business. Because if you spend that seed money, this is seed money here, right? You're not going to be planting any crops that are going to be of significance that are going to last for a long time. I'll tell you, I'll never, ever, ever lose my money again, because there is no way in heaven or hell anything ever will convince me to not take 10% of my income and give it away before I spend it. I have learned the hard way. Okay? And people don't want to hear it because they're greedy. This is actually not your money. It actually doesn't belong to you at all. Scripturally, it belongs to God. And you might believe different things, and that's okay. You can think about it like society's money. You can think about it like your higher power's money, okay? That's another way of saying it. But it's God's money. If you spend that, you're actually stealing. You're stealing from God. Now, it's actually not just 10% of the money that you make. When you buy food, I would recommend that you take 10% of your food and take it to a local storehouse, and there's plenty of them out there. You can take it to a Jewish storehouse. You can take it to the storehouse in your Christian church. And if your Christian church doesn't have one, recommend that they get a storehouse or start your own storehouse. And then that can give money, that can give food to the poor and to the children of society that need food, right? What's the advantage of doing this socially? Everybody wants to work with people that are benefiting society before they do anything for themselves. This is who everybody wants to work with. People don't want to work with selfish people. I had somebody argue with me the other day. It's like, Bill Gates didn't do this for a very long time. He just reinvested 100% of his money back into his business. You know what? And I'd say he'd be 100 times richer if he'd done that from the beginning. Now he gives away most of his wealth. Mark Zuckerberg and his wife are planning on giving away like 99% of their wealth. 99% of their wealth will be given away. Okay? This is Mark Zuckerberg and his wife. Okay? Because rich people understand the value of giving. Is it possible for him to even do that without that money coming back at him and exponentially compounding? It's actually not even possible for him to do that without his wealth compounding. It can't happen. Right? Sometimes rich people give to the wrong causes. I mean, Bill Gates is involved in Monsanto and stuff like that, and I don't like that, but he believes in certain things that I don't believe in, and I'm okay with that. My point is he gives. He gives. Even if it's causes I don't believe in, they give to society. It is actually society's money, that first money that you get. Now, the next thing that you do, you take 10% and you create emergency savings. And you should keep your emergency savings growing until you get a minimum of 6 months of full living expenses. So if you're spending $10,000 a month, and those are your actual living expenses, okay, then you need $60,000 in that fund. Now, this is actually pretty easy to save money like this if all of a sudden you don't have to pay any income tax, right? Because all the income tax money is going to charities and savings. And then what do? You take another 10%, okay, and you invest it. What do you invest it in? Invest it in long-term assets, right? A great investment is real estate. Why? I'm telling you, the population of the world is not going to stop exponentially expanding. It's not. It seems to be slowing down. It's going to speed up in the next few years. I promise you it'll speed up. Because people are going to realize that overpopulation is actually not a problem. What the problem is how we're behaving with what we're doing. With how we're behaving in an improper way with the trees. We're behaving in an improper way with nature. We're behaving improperly with the way that we treat each other. It's not actually overpopulation. Overpopulation is actually not a problem. There's very easy ways around having 100 billion people on the earth and it not being overpopulated still. Okay? The resources are unlimited with the things that we can do because we can do anything for the kids. The problem is actually how we're acting in society and the way that we're utilizing resources, okay? And so the population is going to expand, and as the population expands, what becomes actually more valuable every passing day? Real estate does. Now, it doesn't all the time, and there's real estate's booms and busts, and you got to learn to pay attention to patterns and stuff like that. But real estate, you should build a debt-free real estate model, in my opinion, okay? Where you build debt-free real estate that buys debt-free real estate that buys debt-free real estate as fast as you possibly can. Now, there's other ways of doing it. For example, you can utilize banks' money to flip houses. But keep in mind, if you get over your head, you might actually lose your shirt and lose everything that you've ever had if you keep doing that and keep exponentially expanding that. It's better to do that for a while and then buy stuff with cash, and then you have investment properties that are there with cash. So then what you do is now you're investing, right? Long-term assets, real estate, hard currency and emergency savings, for example, gold, silver, backed by digital currency, things that are actually have real tangible value in the world that you can actually sell. Like, for example, if you invest in commodities is not necessarily the easiest thing to make money in if you don't know what you're doing. But if you invest in commodities, at the end of the day, if something bad happens with the market, you've got all the corn and you can eat it. It's actually a real asset. It's something that you actually own, okay? And so that's valuable. If you invest in stocks, for example, at the end of the day, you've got paper that signifies that you own a part of a company and you can sell that asset. It's actually an asset that you own. It's a real asset, okay? But the realist assets are like gold, silver, real estate, commodities, stuff like that, right? Horses, farms, right? Farms are going to be one of the most valuable things in the world in the future, right? Farms are one of the most valuable things in the world right now. What's up, Latoya? Right? So yeah, this is the thing that he read in the financial fitness program, right? I never really thought about tithing, but it makes sense because I never tithe and keep ending up losing everything over and over. Never connected those dots. Yeah, Mark, read Malachi 3:8-11. It says, will a man rob God? You have robbed me, but you say, wherein have you robbed thee? In tithes and offerings, you are cursed with a curse, for you've robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there might be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing so abundant that there shall not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for their sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast its fruit before its time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. And all nations shall call you blessed, and ye shall be a delightsome land. This is actually the law of tithing. So this is scientifically proven principles of prosperity. Nobody's guessing with tithing that it works. They used to guess, and they used to just be like, oh yeah, we think it works because the Bible says, and it seems like it works because it makes our lives better. But actually now it is actually a scientifically proven principle over large scale demographic studies with millions and millions of people involved over a long period of time. Okay. And so these are principles. Okay. These are principles of the wealth of the righteous. Okay. Remember that if you want to be a great leader, you got to be a great servant first. So that's another principle of prosperity, right? So then you've got investments that are going and stuff like this. And what else can you invest in? You can invest in business startups. You can invest in all sorts of things as your assets begin to build. And you're never going to lose by investing in yourself and in people over a long period of time. What do I mean by that? Well, if you own a company, right, education for your employees and education for yourself and education for your staff and education for your field force and education for your sales force, the more your company is friendly and invests in positive education that's also optimized for the amount that you're spending. So you don't need all this crap education that people deliver. A lot of times it's crap. What you need is you need education that is proven, that gets results, okay? Like, for example, if you go buy Frank Kern's products and educate your staff with them, if you have a sales force, or if you have a sales force or a mentoring force and you educate them with Tony Robbins products, or if you if you have a marketing force and you educate them with digital marketer products, right? If you've got a religious staff and you educate them by having them watch the opinions of other religious leaders on YouTube for an hour a day, so they know what's out there or something like that. So they're actually aware of what's going on. If you educate people on what's going on in the news, but you don't focus on the negative of the news, you focus and you have little debriefings every day where you say, what are the top 5 most important things that happen in the news today that are impacting the economy and our business model the most? And then all of a sudden it's like bam, 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 key points, right? The more you invest in yourself and the more you invest in your business, the more wildly successful you're going to become over a long period of time. And it might happen slow and it might happen fast. And the beautiful thing is do you really need to hurry? A lot of people, they think they need to hurry, but then what happens is they hurry their way into being more broke. They hurry their way into starting a business that then collapses on their face because they're not paying tithing because they refuse. I've got a good friend of mine who I've told this to for a very long time, okay? And I will tell you that I know for sure, because I've seen it in visions and this stuff that I see always happens, that if he does not start paying tithing before he has his massive spiritual awakening, the exact same thing, like literally the exact same thing that happened to me will be the exact same thing that happened to him, because the devourer will eat him alive. You remember I had those 2 apostles, right? Matthew and Paul Gardner. Now I don't know about Paul, but I do know about Matthew. Matthew got some money. He got like $2,000 or something like that once, right? When we were together, right? Now, Matthew kind of lost everything when we were together, right? But why did he lose everything, right? He lost everything because I was like, have you paid tithing yet? I asked him like 5 times. He didn't do it. It wasn't my responsibility. It was his money. And he basically just didn't do it, even though I was warning him to do it. And therefore, he lost all his things because Satan ate him alive. And he had just gone through a massive spiritual awakening and his crown chakra was open. Right now, that's not insulting him. People do this all the time. I did this, and maybe he was following in my footsteps. But I actually warned him, and I'm like, please, for the love of God, don't do this. So I have a boundary with myself that I'll not spend any money before I give tithing away. And I have a boundary with people I work with over a long period of time. If I'm going to be working with somebody and mentoring them, I won't continue to mentor them if they don't grow up and start paying tithing. I just actually had a situation where I was talking to somebody, and then they finally did this the other day. And so I'm going to be working with them a lot more closely because they did that, right? Why won't I do that? Why won't I invest personal time and mentoring into somebody over a long period of time, no matter what they pay me? It doesn't matter if they're not going to be willing to tithe. Because I am not interested in helping somebody make $100,000 a month and blow through it on prostitutes and drugs and get into debt and then get into more debt and then have the FTC and the IRS after them. And maybe they could even get thrown in jail. Like, this is what happens to people when they make a lot of money and they're greedy and they spend God's money. This is the kind of thing that happens, is their life repeatedly gets destroyed in the same pattern, in the same cycle. And God is saying, the higher power is saying, wake up and get rid of thine pride, right? But people don't want to do it. And because they don't do it, they don't prosper. You know who pays tithing? Let me tell you some people that pay tithing. I'll tell you, I can tell who does it. I can tell who does it just by how long they've been successful and stuff like that. I'll tell you some people that do it. You ready? Jonathan Cronstead, David Sharp, Frank Kern, Tony Robbins, Donald J. Trump, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, okay? I mean, Russell Brunson, right? Mac, I can tell Mac does it because he doesn't get disrupted for no matter how scammy his stuff is, right? And I, by the way, I love his stuff. I'm not insulting him. He's got his own world and his own target market. My point with this is I can tell that those people pay tithing because their businesses are still around, and because I'll tell you who else does it. Aaron Rashkin does it. He's Jewish. I can tell you who else does it. I bet Lisa Grossman does it. I can tell you who else does it. Eric Worre does it. I can tell you who else does it. Ray Higdon does it. I can tell you who else does it. Mike Hobbs does it. Right? My point is that all of the best leaders that make the most money, Paul Hutchings does it too, over a very long period of time in any industry, all of them, right, they end up paying tithing because the second they don't do it, right, Satan comes and destroys their life. And it doesn't matter how much money they have, it'll get taken away and collapse. Right? So I got this friend who I've been telling this for years, and I know the exact same thing will happen to him as what happened to me if he just doesn't grow up, okay, before it happens and just listen to me. And dude, I'm like begging you with all my heart to not go through that, right? Freaking take 10% of your gosh dang income and give it to charity with no thought in return before you spend any money, and refuse to spend any money, even a dime, until you do that. You'll get better deals on houses. You'll have more long-term businesses. You'll have business ideas that just seem to last and stick. Your businesses will last for a long time. You'll outwit your competition because Satan stops attacking your consciousness, and you stop having all these stupid ideas that don't work because you're paying tithing. It's actually more than just something that happens like in your heart or your mind. It's something that happens like in the metaphysical universe and in the physical universe. The physical universe becomes different when people give 10% of their income away before they spend any money. It is one of the most powerful things for prosperity that they could possibly do. So I set a boundary with people. Hey, what's up? Good to see you, Paulo. Good to see you, Jeff. I set a boundary with people where I do it, and I'm not going to work with somebody over a long period of time if they don't do it. I won't do it. I refuse, right? So I'm talking with somebody the other day, and we're working on a business arrangement and stuff like that. And I say to the person, why are you trying to get information from me before the tithe has been paid, right? And they said, we're sorry. And I said, Satan's trying to distract us both into making sure that the tithe doesn't get paid. We will continue when the tithe is paid. And then guess what happened is later that day, that person sent a check out to a particular ministry to pay their tithe. And then we continued, and then we started talking. Okay? Why? Because now I know that that person's on the right track. My boundary will keep them on the right track because I refuse to budge from it. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if it's Lawrence Tam. I don't care if it's Vic Strauss. I don't care if it's Frank Kern. I don't care if it's the President of the United States. If they're like, I refuse to pay tithing, I'm going to be like, you know what? Look, I'll say hello. I'll get you on the, I'll touch, I'll maybe touch your butt and slap it on the way by. But I'm not going to work with you over a long period of time because I have been there and I've done that, and it destroyed my wealth, right? And the next time I'm in wealth, I'm going to keep that wealth and make it exponentially compound forever and ever and ever, and be the richest person any of you have ever freaking seen because I'm going to give so much. So there's a balance in the universe, right? So tithing and giving and masterminds and all these principles I went over. Paulo, by the way, this is the most valuable videos you've ever watched. You got to watch this thing all the way through, right? And then what you got to understand as you're building that, right, is you got to have a vision that just keeps getting. You got to have a vision that's so big. Your overall vision has got to be so big. It's got to be a society, maybe even world, maybe even universe level vision, like something that just never ends. And why is this important? Because a couple things, right? Number one, you have this field of vision, which is called a field, okay? And this is you, and you're inside this field, and this is your vision, okay? Let's say this person over here, okay, has a vision that's like, his field's like this, right? Well, are you going to end up working with them, or are they going to end up working with you? What's going to happen? You're going to end up working with them. So you're going to be attracted to this person because your vision fits within their vision, right? So if you want to attract leaders like this person, your vision's got to be like the size of this whiteboard and bigger. In other words, your vision has got to be big enough to fit the visions of all the people that you want to work with long term, because the second your vision doesn't actually exceed their own, those people will take off. Trust me, I have experience in this. Okay. Now I actually had a vision the whole time I was doing what I was doing. My vision was bigger than people's, but the vision wasn't working because my heart had gotten messed up. And then this is the next important thing: is you got to take care of your heart, right? You say, well, how do you actually take care of your heart and keep your heart good over a long period of time? Well, it depends on who you are. Some people have a very easy time with this, right? Like if you go to somebody like different personality styles, and I don't actually call them these things disorders. I call them personality disorders. Like for example, you take a sociopath. A sociopath generally has actually a very easy time if they have a little personal development training and keeping their heart pure, because they could just let go of things and forget they exist and generate new emotions and not care whatsoever. It doesn't matter to them very much. They just do something more and feel a different way, right? It's generally actually very easy for them to control their emotions, right? If you have somebody that's really rooted in people and stuff like that and they keep getting hurt, their heart actually can get very destroyed. This is what happened to me for a long time. And then you got to find a way of you got to constantly be purifying the heart. Right? How do you purify the heart? Well, this is actually really important, because without a pure heart, see, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. There's all these things like this, but blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, right? There's value in a very, very, very pure heart, right? How do you purify your heart? Well, being involved in your own spirituality, whatever it is, getting really connected with your higher power. I like worship. I think worship is one of the most valuable things that exists for purifying the heart, because it's demonstrating humility. It's demonstrating connection with your higher power. And it's something that's selfless. It's selfless and it's giving from the heart, and that purifies the heart in all sorts of amazing, magical ways, right? So I think worship is really valuable. The reality is there's lots of ways to work on purifying the heart. For example, you could do emotional release work, write and burns. My brother has this thing that he developed where you write something down and then you put it in a fire and you burn it. And actually fire has its own amazing magical properties. I was building a fire every day for a little while with my brother Johnny out in the wilderness when we were, sleeping in the campers and whatever. And he's still sleeping out there. And every night I'd go out and I'd gather wood and I'd make a fire and I'd stare into it. And I'd just allow all the negative energy and the negative emotions that I was having that day or that I had that week. And I was just visualizing them being dumped and burned into the fire without even writing anything down, because I didn't want to waste paper or whatever, right? I actually like writing things down and then keeping it so I can look at it later, even if I release it, because then I've got records and stuff. So like I don't want to take like a million years and write things down and continuously burn it, because I'd rather write stuff that I keep. That's just me, right? But my point is that both are valuable. My point is that the fire, there's something magical about fire. I mean, we come from a society where essentially we had cavemen for a very long time that used to build fires and tell stories every night. It's very wound into our genetics, right? So there's things that we can do to purify ourselves and to purify our energy, so that when we go around people and we go around our mastermind, we're not taking the negative stuff that happened yesterday and putting it into the future. Instead, we're taking the good from yesterday and we're putting it in the future. And we're taking good from the future and we're putting it into the past, right? We're doing something where we're just basically taking the good and we're putting it everywhere is what we're doing, right? And that can only really happen with a pure heart. So you're going to have a hard time keeping your heart pure if you don't pay tithing. You're like, what are you talking about? I can keep my heart pure if I don't pay tithing. You're not going to be able to. Why? Because you're going to get the shit kicked out of you by the universe again and again and again and again. Right? I just talked to Mark Dayton. Mark Dayton's a very spiritual person. We've been arguing on Facebook about religion and stuff like this, and he likes these videos probably a lot more. And, there's no need to argue all the time, but I actually enjoy it. And I think he kind of enjoys it too. It's actually kind of fun. I'm not mad at him or anything like this. I don't really think he's mad at me, right? We just are having a lot of fun. My point is with this though, right, is that, he just said, I keep losing all my money and I didn't realize I keep making it and losing everything. And I didn't even connect those two together. And here you have a Christian person and he's just not paying attention to the tithing laws because he thinks that they're not valid, because maybe he doesn't think they're not valid, but maybe nobody's ever sat there and explained them to him in a proper way. Or maybe he's never watched it. A great video series would be go watch Messianic Torah Observant Israel and watch their series on the 613 mitzvot. The best series I've ever seen on the commandments in the Torah. Right. And they explain it in there with all the cursings and blessings and everything like that. I'm on the 4th or 5th video or something like that. But the reality is that all that stuff, those are the real principles of prosperity. Look, if you want to know the principles of prosperity to keep the nations together, you got them right here. And this is the secret. Friends there on Facebook. This is Dave Wood, and I want to do a video talking about. Oh well, I think I'm on YouTube still. I got cut off on Facebook. So, hold on. We'll say potentially. Well, I gotta shut this down. Okay, I'm on YouTube still. Okay, so I'm gonna continue. Okay, there's value in the 613 mitzvah because it makes more sense to do this part of the channel, right? There's value in the 613 mitzvah, and it explains it. You know, I'll tell you this is the secret books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy is the prosperity secret of the wealthiest people in the entire world, which is who? By far, without any close seconds, it's the Jewish nation. Okay, what is the secret of the Jewish nation with wealth? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's actually the secret to wealth. All the principles of prosperity, all the universal principles of prosperity is taught by the prophets Abraham and Moses and Jesus and all that stuff. They're right here in these first 5 books of Moses. And if we realize this, and if we realize that these things, these books accurately predict economic trends just by paying attention to the mitzvah, you say, what do you mean? All you got to do, you want to know if the company is going to go up or down, right? Really, if you want to watch, you go through the principles that I just outlined for business. It's got to have good business principles and stuff like this. And then just ask the question and find out, is this company owner, from basically the news and from what you're watching, is this company honoring the mitzvah? If the company is honoring the mitzvah, if they're honoring the 613 commandments of Torah, that company will most likely just continuously prosper. Now, sometimes maybe the products will get too old or something like that, and they'll have to do something else. And if they don't change or if they refuse to get stuck in their ways, but that's obviously not honoring the mitzvah, because you want to change and adapt to things as they're going along. This is part of the Torah too. The reality is, though, is that are they honoring the mitzvah? If they're honoring the mitzvah, they're going to prosper. If they're not going to prosper. This is actually very, very simple. It's quantum mechanics, because this outlines the prosperity structure of the entire universe. Okay. So how do you do that? You just keep doing it, and then doorways will present themselves to you. I verily set before thee an open door, and you walk through the door that presents itself in the universe. And as you walk through the door that presents itself in the universe, right, what happens to you? Then all of a sudden, you really, really, really have an opportunity to make real wealth and keep it. Okay, I'm done with this video. Look out for something in the next little while. I'm working on something that could be quite big. And I'm working on actually a couple of things. I'm working on the memory training that I told you guys about, but I haven't really been putting that together the last little bit because I've been getting distracted by some stuff. And I've been working on what my overall game plan is going to be and what my vision is going to be and everything like that and who we're going to impact. So kind of keep watching and keep looking out, because the people around me are going to be the wealthiest people on the face of the whole earth, because I'm going to teach you the real principles of wealth, that actually where they come from and actually how to actually utilize them to create the results that you want. Later.